like a bit of this. And a bit of that. You can have it all with Die Fledermaus at Glyndebourne, Christmas Day at 4:15. The Art of Performance, this Christmas on BBC Two.
The Art of Performance this Christmas on BBC One with the spectacular Cirque du Soleil. Dale Winton meets the world-famous French circus and unexpectedly becomes part of the show. Dale's Cirque du Soleil adventure, Sunday at 5:45.
A little goes a long way.
Goodness, we're
tingling
with anticipation. Women are from Venus, men are from Peckham.
Can you imagine living somewhere that big?
Yeah, that's Christmas Day from 4:25 on BBC One.
That Mel Brooks classic. The Producers is BBC One's late film in a few minutes. Before that, a look at the Christmas Day weather with Rob McElwee.
Hello. Christmas Day dawns first, of course, along the date line in the middle of the Pacific. But the first continent it gets to is probably Australia. Now, Australia happens to be where I'm going to start this particular weather view. Not because of snow, you never get a white Christmas in Australia, but this time because of rain, first of all, and the rain was from that huge mass of cloud which has given Wave Hill in the Northern Territory 146 millimetres, 15 centimetres, 6 inches of rain in the last 2 days. And the average, of course, is quite a lot, but it's actually less than this. And the storm itself, which is more or less a tropical depression of some sort, is going to run down the coast, down 80 Mile Beach, so it's not actually going to die in the next couple of days. Now, not too many people live up here. The majority of Australians live further south. And for them, as is usually the case, it'll be a hot and sunny Christmas day. 29 to 42 degrees. Hotter than maybe it should be. For us, of course, there's no prospect of a white Christmas, but it'll continue to be a green and fairly mild Christmas and covered in cloud. Now that cloud, which of course has been dragged up really from somewhere in the central Atlantic, is in mild air and a lot of rain's come out of it. When this rides up the western side of the Scottish Highlands, it'll tend to rain for hours on end, and pretty heavily. Sloy, a place which I believe is about halfway up Loch Lomond, has had 50 millimetres at least of rain on Christmas Eve, and it hasn't yet finished. Now conversely, on the other side of the Highlands, you often find the air's dried out and the sun may sometimes come out. Certainly it warms up. Aberdeen's 13 degrees, not a record breaker, but it's far above the average of 7. Now I reckon then, if Father Christmas is flying in from Australia, he's got to be coming eventually from the east. We've got quite a strong headwind for him to contend with. Now if he comes down to 5,000 feet, he should be free of cloud to see where he's going, and the winds will be nothing like as strong. So should be no delays. As for us on the ground, well, the rain that's falling in Scotland will walk down through southern Scotland to northwest England and North Wales overnight. It's a slow process, and the rain, of course, will fall equally heavily through the lakes, Lancashire, the Western Pennines, and eventually North Wales. But all the air involved is still mild, the exception maybe being the far north of Scotland, where we could drop down to about 4 degrees. But it means Christmas Day will dawn extensively cloudy. The only chance of white stuff will be up on the Munros, and that's just briefly during the morning. The rain will edge a bit further south, but tend to concentrate in this area, North Wales, probably the southwest of the Pennines as well. A lot of hill fog here, hill fog and drizzle in Cornwall and South Wales. For most of England, a dry and breezy Christmas Day. Some sunshine for Northern Ireland and for Scotland amongst the showers, and here it won't be anything like as mild as been the case on Christmas Eve. But 11 or 12 will be a typical temperature for England and for Wales. So a green Christmas, not a white Christmas, but we will see some more snow, probably come Sunday. Happy Christmas.
They say that Formula One drivers are control freaks. And at 200 miles an hour, we need to be. BBCi, the new information service on digital TV that lets me stay in control all of the time. I need to know what's going on as it happens so I can react and stay ahead of the game. Now you can be in the information driving seat with BBCi.
Available 24 hours a day on all BBC digital channels. BBCi, the BBC at your beck and call.
Boy, meets girl.
Hmm?
I love you.
meets father-in-law.
If I find that you are trying to corrupt my firstborn child, I will bring you down, baby.
Ben Stiller rubs Robert De Niro up the wrong way in Meet the Parents, Boxing Day at 8:30 on BBC One.
Now on BBC One, slightly later than planned, songs destined to hit the wrong note on Broadway. Zero Mostel and Gene Wilder star in the Mel Brooks classic, The Producers.
Tom Hanks is Castaway, Monday at 8:30 on BBC One.
A little goes a long way.
Goodness, we're
Tingling.
with anticipation.
Women are from Venus, men are from Peck.
Can you imagine living somewhere that big?
Yeah, that's Christmas Day from 4:25 on BBC One.
Now, BBC One's joining BBC News 24.
A knife in the heart, if you will say it like this. It was not yet a real problem of unemployment, because Grundig has now in Nuremberg 1,400 people. 20 years ago they had 43,000 people. So Grundig has gone away slowly, part for part, between 20 years. But now this final act is a kind of symbol for going down of a traditional brand, of a traditional name, who's well known all over the world. And it's more symbolic than really, but it was not very good for us.
300 kilometres west and back over the French border, Strasbourg's mayor says the French are just as reluctant to change. The city's economy is suffering the same problems as Germany. As recently as 3 years ago, unemployment used to be around 5%. These days, it's edging ever closer to 10%. The mayor believes it's the evolution of the economy and parts of the population's inability to adjust with it that's responsible for so many being out of work.
We have, at the same time, unemployment, but also jobs that don't find anybody to do it. So it's very important to keep on this investment in education to adapt the profile of people to the new realities of the market.
In the far reaches of France, local businesses are slow to adapt. In the sleepy country towns, it takes time to sink in. At wine grower Jean-Huguel Cellars, he tells me that the new reality of the job market has stirred up resentment among the business community. For a small firm like this, new working directives haven't been so easy to swallow. And Monsieur Huguel warns, nor will their impact be so easy for the French government to digest.
The 35 hours, which the socialist government is a bloody stupid thing, and to get rid of it, it's not easy, because people always love to work less and earn more, which is mathematically not possible, but they thought it was possible. So we passed to 35 hours, it was a law. We haven't hired anybody. We bought new machines which work faster, and in the vineyards we have the machinery which helps us to be efficient, because if you are not efficient and if you don't make money, you go bust.
Monsieur Huguel's cellars house the world's oldest wine barrels still in use. It dates back centuries. Since before this cask entered production, history shows that France has rarely nurtured enterprise. It's perhaps one of the reasons why the operating environment appears to be so unfriendly towards business. Managers' moans mount higher than the maturing bottles of wine racked in Monsieur Huguel's cave. Bureaucracy is the #1 gripe.
I would say too much of our time, and now the computer helps, is wasted in filling up papers for administrations. and different administrations asking for the same paper. We just make a photocopy and send it. And I shouldn't say this, but sometimes we put wrong figures in just to put the statistics wrong.
Again, the sentiment is mirrored over in Germany, where a rapid end to the mountains of paper seems far away.
I fear it will not be reduced because, you know, we have a lot and a big group of people sitting in highest positions, and if we reduce, they become labelless. And so, but they have to do this. We cannot do it. And so, independent on which party was on the government, we'd have no change. Because also Mr. Weigel, the former finance minister, brought over us a lot of small and difficult detail works. And Mr. Weigel is the same. It doesn't matter which party is.
There are other hurdles preventing the recovery from accelerating at its fullest pace in Europe. Manufacturing is rapidly vanishing from the region's landscape. The slowdown has speeded up the decline of factories caused by Europe's transition from a production-based economy to that based on services. Few foreign companies are setting up shop on a large scale in Europe. In fact, most European companies are moving their manufacturing bases east, either into the new EU accession countries or out to Asia. It's the cost structure of running a business in Europe that's driving them away. It's expensive to hire staff, taxes are high, and even resources are pricier. It's leading to a rethink of just what Europe's future is and what will happen to the people in doomed industries who may not want to transfer to the service sector.
We are not going in Europe to be able to compete in terms of labor costs. So the question of competitiveness of Europe as a whole is an important question for a long term, but we have also to continue to progress in our intellectual capacities, to create new activities so that we can keep our advance in terms of development and economic growth.
The trouble is, business sentiment needs to improve a great deal before people will start setting up these new enterprises. In Nuremberg, they have one surefire way to boost sentiment. The city has been chosen to host 5 of the matches in the World Cup of 2006. This has led to the mayor ordering that one of the great rooms in the town hall be converted into a soccer pitch. The games will bring some much-needed cash to the region, but the money collected won't all stay in the city's coffers. Due to the complex structure of federal state funding, it's impossible for the mayor to work out by just how much the city will benefit. It's prompted Herr Mali to call for a review in how local authorities' budgets are managed.
It would be a clear division of finances. In Germany, that nobody else knows how finances and taxes will be divided, because there are taxes that are our taxes, and we have to give 30% to Bavaria, 10% to Berlin. Then there are taxes in Berlin, and they have to give us 14%. And it's all connected. Nobody knows, and we have to do a segmentation, a clear segmentation. These are your responsibilities. These are your taxes. You can work with them. You are responsible for them. And then you have clear dates to make future plans.
With more control of revenue sources, Mr. Mali believes he and leaders in other cities will be better equipped to encourage local recoveries. Nuremberg also happens to be home to the headquarters of GfK, a German market research firm that's responsible for the country's monthly poll of consumer confidence. The company's chief executive says that the German public's uncertainty about how much money they'll have in their pockets next year could be fatal to the fragile recovery. Early in 2003, Mr. Schröder pledged personal income tax cuts that would be brought forward a year earlier to the start of January 2004. But by the second week of December, the German public was still none the wiser about whether this would happen.
What has shown the increase of the consumer confidence actually in the early summer was caused by the announcement of the tax relief being started January 1st. So the people could read in the newspapers and the magazines that their income is going to increase. This was a kind of positive moment and actually made the climate go up. What we need in Germany to really stabilize this positive mood and to get it into really buying activities is to make this tax reform start January 1st and to actually put some of the discussions of the reforms that we need in terms of healthcare, pension funds, and working condition in Germany, they have to be turned into reality. And this is, if this is not going to happen, I think the consumer confidence might decline again.
Back out in the marketplace, traders are all too aware of that. At this stall, they're selling models of a large hare made famous by a local artist's oil painting. It's being portrayed as a new symbol of Nuremberg. They've painted the hare gold to drum up some extra Christmas business, but at €30 a piece, there aren't too many shoppers prepared to shell out that much. If there was extra cash in shoppers' pockets, things might be different, which is why the tax cuts are essential in boosting domestic demand, as the stall owner points out.
The tax system in Germany is very, very complicated. So most people have a very difficult time with that, doing all this paperwork, and they lose a lot of money with that too. So that is very important. And of course, it is better to save, to keep more money, to keep the economy going and to reactivate it again. That's very important to the whole state, not just for the single people on the street.
But the question is, just how quickly would tax cuts inject cash into the German economy?
Well, I think the most important point is the psychological effect. Once, if it's decided that the tax relief is coming, the consumer will feel more positive, and he might immediately try to spend more money. And then we have to understand that Christmas, when people get 13th salary additional money, this is again a positive mood. And if then more money comes as of January, then it will turn into more consumption. And I think this would help the economy to go up second quarter of 2004.
There may be serious structural problems facing some of Europe's biggest economies, but there's also a recognisable new cycle starting in the European economy. It's not a major upswing, but a small crawl back. That in itself is helping to lift optimism of both consumers and businesses. The most popularly expressed feeling is that things can only get better now. Unemployment in Germany eased downwards in November, and conditions in the rest of Europe were distinctly brighter, according to European Commission data published in the final weeks of the year. Business at all levels sense that 2004 will see improvement.
I think the economy is certainly going to pick up. I really do. We're, with our other business, we're getting reservations already into September of next year.
When I look on TV about the stock exchange, they are all optimistic for 2004. But they know not more than I know. A lot of things can happen.
If you are on the bottom, and we hope we are on the bottom, it must go up. And this is, I think, most of the people I meet, I talk to them, they say, okay, we are on the bottom, it only can go up. So if you ask me what will come, we say, okay, it will go up.
The forecast for next year is at least that the unemployment situation is going to stabilize and not to increase. So these are a couple of factors that seems at least to make the consumer a little bit more positive, and the propensity to buy is slightly increasing, though it's still not yet okay.
It's such varying glows of optimism that are delivering a degree of welcome cheer to Europe this Christmas. People are looking forward with the expectation that few of them are likely to lose their jobs in 2004, and those already without employment may return to work soon. Their fate depends on how effective the transformations in Europe's biggest economies are, and if more far-reaching reforms can be introduced. The truth is, the two dominant nations of the world's biggest trading bloc can only handle so much, and even more ambitious changes could be very hard to swallow. At the end of a difficult year and in anticipation of a better one, the natural upturn in the economic cycle is but half the journey. Taking advantage of the opportunity for thorough reform in France and Germany that the recovery presents could complete the transition.
Hello there. It's not a white Christmas, as I'm sure you know. It's a green one, but we do have some heavy rain around. At the moment, it's just pushing from Scotland in towards the north of England, but it could well turn chilly by the end of the weekend, maybe even a few bits of sleet and snow around, but I don't think they'll last very long. As it is for Christmas morning, we will see the heavy rain pushing further southwards from Scotland in towards the northwest of England, the north of Wales as well. Here, it could really be quite heavy, particularly to the westward side of the Pennines or any other hills or mountains. Further north, looking quite blustery though, with some showers, a bit of rain moving eastwards across Scotland too through the day. Much of England and Wales though will be dry, maybe even bright further east, but I wouldn't hold out for the sunshine, and the rain beginning to slip in towards the Midlands and more central parts of Wales later on in the day. All in all, it is going to be a windy but mild day. Temperatures up to around 11 or 12 Celsius across England and Wales, and maybe around 7 or 8 Celsius across Scotland and Northern Ireland. That's the weather.
Talking movies. Fledermaus talking movies.
This week, with the help of some movie industry icons, we look back at the year in cinema in 2003.
Dawn, can I just have a word in here?
Well, look, everyone saw it. I told Dawn how I felt, and she, you know, she said no to me. I'm not going to ask her again, obviously. I might ask her again.
The Office Christmas specials begin Boxing Day at 10:15 on BBC One.
They say that Formula One drivers are control freaks. And at 200 miles an hour, we need to be. BBCi, the new information service on digital TV that lets me stay in control all of the time. I need to know what's going on as it happens so I can react and stay ahead of the game. Now you can be in the information driving seat with BBCi.
Available 24 hours a day on all BBC digital channels. BBCi, the BBC at your beck and call.
Air France flights between Paris and Los Angeles are cancelled because of security fears. US authorities believe an Al-Qaeda operative had infiltrated one of the flights. The Beagle has landed, or has it? Scientists wait to see if the probe has reached the surface of Mars. US officials move to reassure consumers after its first suspected case of BSE that beef prices fall. And the Pope calls for an end to conflict as he presides over the Christmas midnight Mass in Rome. I'm Alistair Yates. Welcome to BBC News. The French government has ordered the cancellation of 3 return Air France flights between Paris and Los Angeles because of security fears. American officials said US authorities had provided France with names of suspicious passengers on the flight lists. One official was quoted as saying there was evidence that an Al-Qaeda operative had infiltrated one of the flights.
The American embassy in Paris sounded the alarm, and their information was very specific. A single destination, Los Angeles, and a single airline, Air France. The French Prime Minister intervened. The company immediately grounded 3 flights from Paris and 3 back. Anti-terrorist officers said they had credible information that a terror attack was being planned for the holiday period, and that it could equal or even surpass that of September the 11th, 2001.
This hasn't come out of the blue. The United States raised its level of readiness to high risk at the weekend, and France has been on what it calls orange alert. That's the 3rd highest since earlier this month. Clearly, the authorities in both countries believe something, and something big, is in the offing.
Al-Qaeda continues to consider using aircraft as a weapon, and they are constantly evaluating procedures, both in the United States and elsewhere, to find gaps in our security posture that could be exploited.
It was from this airport that the shoe bomber Richard Reed boarded a flight to Miami in the weekend before Christmas 2 years ago. He came close to blowing up a packed plane mid-Atlantic. Tonight, attention is fixed on those who were about to board the cancelled flights. US officials have passed to the French authorities the name or names of passengers they think suspicious. France says there have been no arrests, but tonight on both sides of the Atlantic there is a heightened sense of anticipation and of fear. Alan Little, BBC News, Paris.
And earlier, the Delta airline terminal at New York's LaGuardia Airport